That spark of innovation, it's just waiting for the perfect combination of tools and talent to bring it to life. Welcome to Pitch, Build, Scale. I'm your host, Chris Fanchi, a recovering startup founder, veteran SaaS marketer, turned dev tech enthusiast and growth specialist. Each episode, we connect with the builders, the visionaries, and the problem solvers who are redefining what's possible with today's technology and pioneering the websites, apps, and software products of tomorrow. These are the conversations that transform how we build, how we sell, and how we scale technology businesses in a world where the tech evolves by the minute. Ready to stay ahead of the curve? This is Pitch, Build, Scale. Hello and welcome to today's episode. We have a very exciting guest. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are Big North Marketing and specialize in helping dev shops and SaaS companies scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your SaaS or dev business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth in the DMs. We're really excited to have today's guest, Malachi Hernandez, a startup founder and innovation leader pushing the boundaries of legal tech with AI. He's the founder of Ipelint, a company rethinking intellectual property prosecution from the ground up. Malachi, welcome to the show.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me.
So to get us started, just tell us a little bit about what first drew you into tech and entrepreneurship.
Sure. So I've always been creative since I was young. So I knew I wanted to do something that allowed me to pursue creativity in some way as kind of a career path. In fact, my first real journey and early on entrepreneurship was in elementary school when I would sell things during recess and get in trouble. And so that led me down the path of figuring out, okay, I'm creative. I know I want to build things. I know I want to help people in some way. How can I, make money off of ideas? And before that, I didn't know that entrepreneurship existed. I thought that, these companies just magically appear and people work for them. But as I grew older, I started watching Shark Tank, reading books, read about Steve Jobs, saw The Prophet and all these other shows that you see online. I said, okay, well, there's actually people that make money from their ideas and they enjoy them, and that seems fun. And so that's kind of what I landed on and what I've been pursuing ever since then. And that's how I got started into entrepreneurship.
So what were the early seeds of Ippolint? Where did the idea come from originally?
All throughout college and still today, I'm a patent analyst. So I can go through and take a look at a patent or an IP portfolio and make an investment decision. And that's really where the foundations of the idea began. Not necessarily during that phase, because after I did that, I was working on a solution specifically to curve remote testing, cheating, and other features with phones. And I wanted to patent that solution. There were a few other players in the market at that time. And I was looking at the IP portfolio and saying, okay, after everything's said and done, if I get a patent on this product that I want, which arguably is necessary for what I wanted to do, it would cost me about $60,000 to $80,000 at a minimum. And instead of spending $60,000 to $80,000, I thought to myself, okay, what if I could go and predict exactly what the patent office is going to invalidate my patent on, and what do I need to put in consideration in the patent that I draft in order to have a more defendable claim set from the beginning, rather than having to pursue additional patents or amendments to my patent later on. And so that's kind of how I thought about Ippolint in the beginning, is just kind of a solution to my own problem that I found when solving another problem. So I quickly ended the other issue or the other project I was working on because I saw that AI was coming into play. I saw that there was quite a bit of issues, you could say, that inventors face, being one that I faced myself. And so I decided to pursue Ippolint full time after that.
So was there a specific moment where you realized this could become more than just a project for yourself, but actually become a business that could sustain itself, something that's scalable?
I think it's something that I researched in 2022, going through that process and into 2023. It was more so looking at the technology and seeing, is it available? As far as the idea goes and bringing it into the market, I saw that there wasn't really many people doing what we were doing. There are a few players that are similar, but I watched them over time grow as my time as a patent analyst. And from there, I said, okay, we have something unique. We have something different. There is a time that this could become something else, something larger than just me. And I can't say that I pinpointed it to a direct point in time, more so just the addition and sum of all these different things coming together all at once, whether it be technology, whether it be the people or the connections, or just sharing the idea with people, the feedback that I got early on.
So what is the main pain point that you're solving, and how exactly does Ipelint go about solving that?
The main pain point we're solving is probably all the troubles in the IP space right now, and not specific to right now, but even all throughout the history of the patent office. I mean, we can trace it back through every administration all the way back into the 80s, is that the patent office has had, some interesting times or opinions from inventors. We could call it that. There's always going to be a fight between what the inventors think and what the patent office thinks, and not necessarily fight, but more so a disagreement. And as we kind of go through the process of innovation, just in a general sense, all these different areas of technology, and I say that in a broad sense, whether it be a coffee lid or an actual piece of technology like a computer, all these different areas are getting saturated with new inventions. And so the main issue that as we go through time, even if we trace back the history of the intellectual property filed in the US and the world, we've seen that IP is more and more getting refined and not as much protecting what the inventor first thinks of and more so what they can get by with the patent office. It's not necessarily the patent office's fault. It's more so just how the ecosystem of innovation and intellectual property goes. And so the main pain point that we're solving here, at least on the inventor side, is, hey, can we help you get a better patent in some way, or at least give your legal team the opportunity to get a better patent by giving them the insights that the patent office would reject their patent on. And so that's the main pain point. From there, it stems into a different pain points for different customers, but ultimately the goal of this is to help the inventors and get them the technology that they need or that they want to protect their brand, their business. And if one day it turns into a sale, hopefully get a more valuable IP in that sale.
So are you typically solving for the amount of time that it takes to process a patent, the cost? Is it a combination?
It's a combination of all factors: costs, time, the actual quality of the work as well. It's a lot different. On average, you could have a firm that takes a few weeks to a few months to do freedom to operate search or several freedom to operate searches. But at the same time, our system can do that in about 15 minutes, which is a huge cost savings on the attorney side. But also, when you look at it from an inventor standpoint, now they have the information much earlier to go and pursue the right pathway.
So where are you at as a company right now? How large are you team size, and where do you say you are in terms of like growth stage?
Yeah. So inclusive of me, we have about 3 full-time members, and then we cycle people on and off depending on, certain skill sets or certain projects that we have at the time. As far as what we're doing right now at the date of this filming, we're about to release our first public version for use by law firms. So we've been in beta testing with a few law firms before, and they've given us good feedback, and we're finally at a point where it's time to scale beyond just the few close firms that we know and grow beyond that. So at this point, we're low revenue, but in the process of scaling, getting clients and marketing ourselves to a broader population of customers.
So who is your typical end customer? Is it the IP lawyers and law firms that are working with the end client, or do you have people coming directly to you with patent ideas or things that they want to go get verified?
So we have both people approach us, law firms as well as individual inventors. On the law firm side, we serve the individual solo practitioners all the way up until the big firms, and that's on a global scale. As far as the inventors go, while we don't serve them directly, I've just used the platform in my consulting, uh, you know, field and have run some analytics for inventors just for fun to see how it'd react. And so we do that kind of as an offshoot sometimes, but our main focus is the law firms because when you're doing IP work, you probably want to have an experienced attorney, lawyer, someone that's, um, you know, understanding of the landscape in order to serve the client in the best way.
And how are you planning on bringing in new clients now that you're looking to expand out beyond your beta users?
Yeah, a lot of this in the process has been sharing the vision early on with people. And so there's a whole list of law firms that I have that know about me from the beginning, from before we even wrote the first line of code on this. So a lot of it has been networking, word of mouth, and trying to share the vision in a broad sense with our target customer. Because more so, at least in this phase, it's not so much of a marketing, more so that we're trying to get people to go on the journey to with us, because we're trying to build the tool for what they need, what they want, and how to support them best.
So where are you seeing the most interest right now? I know it's just early days, but what are you seeing the most interest in? Is it the bigger firms, smaller independents, or even the government side of things?
We've had interest from the government, certainly, but also we've had interest from, oddly enough, the very large firms that have hundreds of attorneys in them, and then the solo practitioners. It's when you get into the mid-market firms that the situation as far as their business practices change a little bit. And so I would think when I first started out, I thought it was going to be the mid firms and the small firms that had the most interest, but it's the small firms and the very large firms. And the middle is ultimately the last to convert, at least at this
Hmm,
stage.
interesting. So let's pivot a little bit away from the business right now and talk a little bit more of the tech and the AI side of things. You mentioned AI making an impact on your business. Can you talk a little bit about that? And obviously, another big topic right now in AI is IP and how AIs are being trained on different IPs. So talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah. So as far as what we're doing with AI, I like to say that AI isn't the answer to everything. So if you're pursuing AI, don't just put anything into AI. Really take the time to prompt it, fine tune it, train your own model if that's what you're doing. And that's what we've done here in this case. We have some processes that are fine tuned, other processes that are trained on our own stuff. But ultimately, what we've seen over the course of time is that the general availability of AI to companies, to the public, as well as the methods and the resources to train it has gotten a lot better. And so now we're seeing an increase in scalability as far as the AI goes and what individual companies can support and what people can build. And so that's been an interesting time because we got in fairly early. So we've seen it from the time that OpenAI started getting big all the way up until this point where we are today. And there's just been leaps and bounds that things that weren't possible a year ago are now possible with the current market. So that's been a huge shift in the market as well. And then as far as, the IP and the training side of things, it changes. There's a few things specifically on the technology side that have gotten better that allow us to have a more powerful platform at this point. But specifically in the IP world, AI and IP don't match up just yet. There's some latency between what you're allowed to use AI for within intellectual property and how you're able to file and how you're able to derive even legal opinion from, because we're not technically providing legal advice, we're just providing insights. And so people have to be pretty careful on how they use it and what it's built for, because more often than not, if you're not careful, and this can go for anything, not just legal and IP, but the AI will hallucinate. That's still not a problem that is fixed, and it might not ever be fixed with how AI works.
Yeah. And is that the main concern that you're running into when you're speaking to lawyers or the government even who work in the field? And are you seeing resistance or are you seeing openness to AI in this field from the people that you're speaking with?
Ultimately, the accuracy of the system isn't much of a concern at this point, at least not one that's been voiced to me, because we match it up with all the internal data that we have. I mean, we're very accurate, pretty much in line with what the patent office does right now. As far as the general opposition to AI, being in the legal space, it's very interesting because you have the young attorneys that are just graduating from law school and they have their JDs, and we're at a point now where a lot of the young attorneys have at some point in their educational history, used AI to do something, whatever that task may be. So they're well aware of it. The young attorneys are, pretty supportive of what we're doing. On the other end of the spectrum, law is a career of experience. And so you have a whole bunch of attorneys that are older in the practice and have a lot more experience. And there are some calls that I jump on that say, hey, I've always used paper. I've always mailed applications into the patent office, or I've always, communicated via paper in the post office. That's not something I'm going to change. And so as far as that demographic, it's been a lot of fun. It's been very interesting. The younger attorneys are excited about it. The older attorneys take some getting used to. But overall, a lot of these firms are really open to using AI in their practices. And beyond that, I guess the most interesting thing that we've seen is the legal considerations of AI,
Yeah.
right? What is considered ethical in the legal space as far as how can attorneys use AI to support their clients. And that's something that there's a lag in as far as the law and where we are in AI right now. But it's something that'll continue to change.
Yeah, certainly. Do you see your company and your software having any impact when it comes to challenges to patents in the future?
As far as
Being able to provide support or helping with the legal side once it gets into the courtroom.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be a huge interest. We have interest on the prosecution side right now, which is the area of filing a patent all the way to where somebody gets an approval, an allowance for a patent, or they abandon it. The other area of interest, which I wasn't, you know, fully prepared for, but caught off guard in recent months, is the litigation side, which is where people are actively suing for patent rights or defending their patents in a court. And I should have thought of this earlier, but what we've built is a prime candidate because the processes are more or less similar. It's just different time frames. And as far as building better and defendable IP and defending that IP within the court, our software addresses all sides. So as we continue to grow in AI and in the legal space, just overall, I think that barriers are going to be broken down not only for companies like the one I have, but for other companies that are operating in different areas of legal.
Yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, it sounds like there's some green pastures for you guys to aim for as well there. In that regard, let's talk a little bit about your vision for the company and your goals over the coming years. You've got some early traction and interest. What's a big win that you're chasing over the next 12 months?
Big win would definitely be a government contract. It's a little bit of a controversy right now with everything going on, but ultimately there's a main focus right now, not even on the policy side, but just to help people. That's something that we've seen, that's a main focus of the office as they move throughout the entire IP system, is that their goal is to defend American IP. And so as we pursue this contract and these different areas within the government, we see a prime focus that, hey, even if we don't get the contract, can we help out, the mission of protecting IP for the inventors? And that's ultimately what we want to do. But aside from that, it's mostly just sales to law firms and other people in the industry. We grow our practice, our software usage, because as I mentioned earlier, it's a journey. We can't build this without the attorneys or the law firms, and it requires their input to make it the world's best IP software to help people.
Yeah, the government side is an interesting situation, right? Because they're looking for aggressive cuts on things, but at the same time, they also want to bring in more technology and update the government technology. So that's definitely an opportunity. So it'll
Yes,
be interesting to see how you're able to navigate that.
absolutely.
Are you guys currently raising any funds?
Yes, we are. We're at a small fund right now. Given the market volatility over the past few years, not just within 2025, it's been an interesting approach to fundraising, especially being a young founder with not as much social capital as, say, someone from one of the Ivy League schools. It's been an interesting time, and we've had to approach it from a different route. Certainly, it's been a challenge, but we've been able to not only get by, but excel at what we're doing and really meet the needs.
So you mentioned that you've been the king of bootstrapping in our previous conversation.
Yes.
So what has been the biggest challenge of scaling without large scale funding behind you?
Well, one thing I'll say is that that title, I did not grant myself that title. That was gifted by somebody. Um, but as far as the king of bootstrapping and the challenges of, pursuing something, it's not like we have $100 million in the bank account to go and pursue all these projects. A lot of these larger startups have areas of, personnel that they hire that they use their capital for, whether it be connections, whether it be coding, other areas that really set them apart from smaller players or early stage founders. And so that's one of the challenges that we have to face is how do we get creative in order to scale at the same pace and excel at scaling? And how do we do that without going and stretching our dollar too thin between different projects and different things? Ultimately, in the life cycle of any company, money's always going to be a deciding factor in anything they do. It's been a challenge, but it's been rewarding as well to go through, I would say, the process of bootstrapping to an extreme level and to get this off the ground.
So would you say funding is your biggest bottleneck currently that's holding you guys back as you're hitting the market? Is that something that you feel like has to happen in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve, say in the next year?
It's not something that has to happen per se. It would be nice. But as far as what we're doing, our main goal is to go through and approach the law firms and approach the people that we've been talking through with over the process of these last few years. And more so, I would say market adoption is the hardest thing. Going back to the attorneys, we know from the early stage information that we have that this is the product that we have is needed in the market. It's more so, are the attorneys going to be open to the use of AI? And can we calm their fears or their concerns, whether or not they're valid or not? Can we calm them down enough to say, hey, this is a safe product. AI is not going to totally destroy the legal market. At least in this stage, there is time for people to adapt. And is it safe enough for your clients to use? And the answer to all those things is yes. I mean, those concerns are valid, but they're not as extreme as people think. That's the concern right now that we receive, not necessarily funding.
Gotcha. Okay. Have you looked at any like strategic partnerships, any of the law firms that able to connect you with other law firms, things like that?
Yep, we have. Surprisingly, there's many law firms that are interested in connecting us to other law firms. So it's not like they want to keep us the best hidden secret that they've ever stumbled upon. But there's been plenty of strategic partnerships, not only with law firms in general, but also with certain people, whether they be in the IP's practice, the law space, the VC space, or just other entrepreneurs. So there's something to say about social capital and strategic partnerships, even if it's just a personal relationship with somebody.
Mhm. So as you're looking at the next year and you've got your goals, you want to hit big growth, right? You're looking for that hockey stick. Hypothetically, if you had a magic wand to fix one thing or change one thing in the business right now, that's either holding you back or slowing you down to get there, what would that one thing be?
I would say the biggest thing is communication. And it's not something that can be a one size fit all because at some point everybody's your customer. Whether you're talking to an investor or you're talking to a client or a potential customer of yours, the biggest thing is, okay, can we communicate effectively and communicate the idea, whatever it needs to be, to the potential client for them to be open to it and accept it. That's the main thing that we're looking to solve. And it's been a learning process along the 2 years, but it's been a good one.
Yeah, and it will continue to be a learning process for
Yes.
years to come. That's
We'll never stop learning. That's the one thing I've learned early on is that you think something, even in product development, is ready to go and it's rock solid. And it's like, nope, there's something new out there. So never stop learning, never stop communicating.
yeah, absolutely. So if you had one piece of advice for someone looking to start a business right now in this era of AI and technology, what would that be based on your experiences so far?
I would say chase it, but feel connected to the idea, feel connected to the business that you're going to bring to the market. More so, even in entrepreneurship in general, people feel like they want to chase entrepreneurship, but the whole process of entrepreneurship is hard. People don't just say yes because you say you have a company. They want to see sweat equity. They want to see work done on the project. And that's not going to change. Whether you're 20 years old or 60 years old, the process is going to be the same for everybody. So my advice is just to pursue it, feel connected to the idea, because ultimately you're going to have to stand up, support it, but also believe in what you're doing because times will get tough.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Malachi, for coming on. This has been a great conversation. I really enjoyed learning more about the business. Tell everyone where they can find more about you.
Sure. So if you're looking for the intellectual property side of things, the best thing to do is follow us on LinkedIn. It's spelled Ipelint. And if you want to go to our website, it's ipelint.com. So ippolint.com. And then if you are looking to use our services, even though we don't specifically sell to individuals, ask your practitioner, your lawyer about it if you're looking to file either a patent or a trademark, if they use our software or service. And that's the best way to get connected with us. But if not, and you want to use our software, bring it up to them and connect with us that way. That would be a great way for you to get in on the early side of AI with an IP, but also have a lot more defendable IP for your portfolio as well.
Excellent. Thanks again. And for everyone listening, please leave a review. Be sure to follow us or subscribe for more updates. And as always, keep pitching, keep building, and keep scaling. Thanks for listening to this episode of Pitch, Build, Scale. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast provider so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you next time.